All right, everyone, welcome back to Gilly's Kitchen. So today we're looking at some aged steaks. Um, this used to be norm. The norm was to age steaks for 28 to 38 days at the butcher when this beef was being processed. They don't do that anymore, probably because of cost. I'm sure it's much cheaper, and they don't have a huge amount of product hanging around their warehouse or whatever. A lot of little butcher shops will still age steak. 21 days is pretty good, though. Most of them won't go much more than that. And you really need to age it for longer than 21 days. 38 days is as long as I would go, and it's pretty nutty. It's got a definite strong flavor at 38 days. So here is our New York strip covered in butter. So to start with, I take the strip, rinse it off, pat it dry, and melt. You basically melt the butter about halfway and then whip it up into a thick, I don't know what you call it, kind of paste. And then butter the bottom, lay it down on here, and then smear butter all over the rest of it. You do get some of these cracks as it ages and it kind of dries and pulls apart, so that's no big deal. See, here was one on this side. There's a little dark line there where the butter was cracked. When I'm trimming this steak, that'll all get cut out, so don't worry about that. You're going to lose very little. I'm saving the butter because I use the butter on Tank's dog food when we're making him dog food. And Tootsie, she eats it as well. But I'll have a video on the homemade dog food here pretty soon. But anyway, want to look at how I age steaks. I know other people do this. I've seen other videos, but this is just going to be a quick one about what this process is. I'll go ahead and get this peeled, and we'll slice it up, and you can see what the meat looks like inside. All right, got some more peeled. Just a short note. So if you're wondering what aging does to your beef, this butter it just came out of the fridge. So the butter's, it's hard, but it's not like super hard. But when you age this, it makes the meat tender. So tender that this piece of meat was pulled off of the steak whenever I was pulling the butter off. So to give you an idea, it's as soft as refrigerated butter, that steak, or probably softer. And it is just unbelievable how much better this is when you cook it. All right, so we got the butter off for the most part. There's still a few little pieces of butter left. Don't worry about those. They'll come off, and if they don't, it's no big deal. I cook my steaks with butter anyway. So as you can see, the meat isn't, well, you can see it like here. There's a little spot where there was a small amount of air between the butter and the meat. Here's another piece on the end. There are some spots, well, you can see it in here, this piece of fat. I probably should have trimmed before we aged the meat, but it's not that big a deal. I'll trim it off now. See, that one wasn't even really discolored. So I'm going to trim a little bit of this off, and I'm not going to trim this yet. So I'm going to trim the steak as a whole, and I'll shave a little bit if we got some spots, just barely. And then we'll slice it up, and then as we're trimming, you're trimming the fat, you'll go ahead and trim off any of these little areas that are brown. And like I said, they're very minimal, and you think about it, if this had been in the refrigerator in just, say, a cellophane package with, styrofoam and cellophane like they're sold, say you bought steaks, and put them in the fridge for 30 days, or in this case 35, it would all be really, really dark and nasty looking. And you can still eat that. It's not, I shouldn't say you don't want to eat the dark stuff, but what you end up doing if you do age a piece of meat that way is you end up cutting off a whole bunch of it because you have to cut off all the dark. By rolling it in butter, you can see what I've got to cut off. And just to give you an example, this little piece here, you know, that's what you got to shave off. I mean, you can see the red meat underneath. It's 1/64 of an inch thick, probably a little more than that, probably like a 32nd. But anyway, you don't waste much meat. And I do save the trimmings. All the trimmings will go to this guy. Hey, are you waiting on a piece of steak? He knows the drill. So anyhow, that's where we're at. All right, so here we go. We're going to slice this. I'm not going to be able to do this holding the camera, but I'm just going to kind of show you what the process is going to be. I got the fat side up. You can cut it the other way, but your steaks will turn out looking a lot better if you cut them with the fat side up. You're not fighting that mushy meat. The fat side kind of holds the position of your knife. But I got the most square end over here. This other end's rounded a little more. So I'm just going to kind of follow this profile, and I'm going to start cutting steaks. And I'll probably cut them about 3/4 of an inch or an inch, somewhere around there, thick. I'll probably get about 15 or 17 steaks out of this. I'll show you what they look like once they're cut. All right, guys, here's the finished product. Just trimmed some of the fat off. There's the piece of fat I trimmed off the back of the steak. You know, just nice looking piece of meat. You could trim a little more if you wanted. That's up to you. You can make them as lean or as fatty as you want. It's all up to how much you trim off. So you can see how just tender this meat is, guys. This is what aging does. You got to be careful with it because you can actually pull it apart. It's so soft. But once I get these trimmed up, I'll bag them. I got 15 steaks, and then, you know, technically, I guess you could say this is a steak too, but the end piece, it's probably the best piece of the whole New York strip. But tomorrow morning, I'll dice this up, fry it in some butter, and then throw in some eggs, and we'll have some steak and eggs. So 15 steaks. I think I paid $70 for this New York strip, the whole piece of meat, and I used 2 pounds of butter, maybe 3. So that comes out to about $5 a steak. And if you guys go into a restaurant and order an aged steak, the last one I ordered was $58, I believe. Not saying it wasn't good. It's freaking awesome. But for $5, my whole family can eat aged steak. I mean, I don't think I can go into the store today and buy an unaged steak for $5. So anyway, keep that in mind. I'm going to trim these up and bag them up, throw them in the freezer, and then we'll pull them out, cook them as we are ready to have steak. But super easy. It's kind of fun. It's really fun to watch. All right. So here is our finished product. These are there's 2 steaks in the bag. Keep them marked, and man, they're ready to go. They look good. Well, thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Tune in on the next episode. Not sure what we'll do, but probably won't taste as good as this. Anyway, appreciate y'all. Talk to you later.